physical effects in the soil. It's got, you know, chemical effects by adding nitrogen to the soil, fixing nitrogen the whole time, you know, it's in the ground. And this is probably like the perfect stage to chop it down. It's not too much flour yet. It's just a lot of good stalks. Now, I wanted you guys to see it today, so I didn't chop it down yet. It was like, I better leave it at least till Thursday so I can see what it looks like.
So you leave it about 6 feet?
8 feet, whatever it gets to, yeah. This is a really fertile block, you know, and that's why we're going to put the strawberries there. Last year we had the strawberries here. 2 years ago we had the strawberries where I'm going to put the cucumbers. So it's all sequential, you know, what we're doing here. I won't put the strawberries all the way up to the border here, and I won't put them all the way over next to that one, but there'll probably be about a ½ an acre of strawberries in the middle here where all this fertile area is. And it is a really good crop to seed strawberries because it reduces your nematodes and builds the fertility, especially nitrogen in your soil, and reduces a lot of your weeds that'll come alive in the spring when you're not wanting them to, you know, so to say, when it starts warming up. This block right here is going to go into green beans. So with the sequence here, we had, let's see, a long time ago, we had sweet potatoes, then we had broccoli, then we had strawberries. Then I just got done to see this grass right here, this millet. This is pearl millet. I left a windbreak here, so when the northwest wind's blowing really bad from the first few cold fronts, hopefully we'll have a little bit of a windbreak here over the beans. And these are beans that might need to get covered depending on how cold it gets in October or so. Hopefully not. We're going to plant like maybe next week, and it'll take us up to about maybe the week before Halloween or something like that, you know. We'll probably have mid-October, late October, we'll have beans out here. But you never know how, you know, beans you have to be ready to kind of get cold protected in the fall if you want to get your harvest out of them, you know, especially right here because it can get cold on the dot on Halloween. 2 years since out of 4 really? Since I've been here, we had nearly freezing or freezing like within days of Halloween. So yeah, 2 out of 4 years. It's early, yeah, exactly. So anyway, I know green beans in the fall, and green beans do really good in the fall here. But we got about 2 or 3 plantings that we can get in. We just got our first one in yesterday, so we'll see how it works. You know, this will be our second one.
You said you tilled this sun hemp right in.
You know, there's different ways to skin that cat, so to say. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, I've got a rotary mower. I'm sorry, a flail mower that Sergio's out on right now. If you see him zipping around, he's got the flail mower out right now, which we can use to do this. And I've actually really gotten good at that disc, that tandem disc, where I have it set where I just run over the soil about that deep, really fast, and with the blades not too aggressive. And it knocks that stuff down. I mean, and you basically knock it down this direction, and then you come back at this angle at a diagonal and chop it up again, and then you come back at another angle, so by the third time you're perpendicular to where your first pass was.
Got it.
And it chops that grass up awesome. I mean, like, and I think it's going to chop. I'm going to use it again on the sun hemp, but I'd almost rather do that than flail mow it, because flail mow is so time consuming sometimes. You're going like at a slow speed, you know?
Slow.
Yeah, and you really need to do 2 passes on this with the flail mower, because you can't pick out 8 feet of it in one pass. It'll bind up your mower. It's like, yeah, exactly. So really, in one pass, you can knock it down with a disc and get it on the ground, all go in one direction. Then the next pass, you can slice it. The next pass, you can dice it, you know? So like, I like the disc because it's fast, you know, and you're going, you know, like 5 miles an hour, 4 or 5 miles an hour on the disc rather than like 1 mile an hour with the mower.
So broadcast this when you planted it?
I did. I broadcast it with a little like cone spreader, and then I pressed it into the ground with a reverse harrowing. Basically, it had the S-time harrow over there, field harrow, and just went reverse in about like, you know, medium range, you know, in reverse, and it goes pretty quick. You know, you just have to make sure you don't bury it too deep, or nothing binds up. You know, if you see something bind up, you got to lift up the harrow and clear it, and then, you know, but you're looking right at it. You're in reverse, and you're looking at it the whole time, and you can see it right in front of you, so to say, right behind you. You're going in reverse. Yeah. So it's my best technique so far. I would like to get a drill. That's the next thing that we're going to get, you know, but it's one of those things you can't afford all the toys at one time. So, you know, broadcaster, and you can make it work in this technique with a field cultivator, which everybody should have.
Did you inoculate the seeds before you planted them?
I did. I inoculated it in the cone, by the way. I think that's the best way to do it. I got the inoculant that's cold in the refrigerator. You got the seed that's hot because it's been stored in the garage or whatever, you know. You put it in there and they stick together good enough for that, you know. So you guys want to see what I haven't looked at the rhizobium of this stuff yet.
see if we can get close up on
It's on there. It's in
Can't
the
hold
west
this.
part of the field too. So it's not that happy. You see how short the taproot was? At the top end of the field, you're going to see really good root growth. This just because of the plant, but I would say that's pretty darn good having that kind of activity low in the low end of the field. Where literally this was the greasiest part the other day. Now the rhizobium's not really in there yet, so it's like oh, it's a little bit pink, salmon colored, you know. But when it probably should, based on this nodule growth, I should leave it in there for about another like 2 to 3 weeks probably, and it'll get more red in those nodules as it goes on. So as it's more red, it's actually a chemical really similar to hemoglobin. Instead of oxygen, it's taking nitrogen, and it's making available nitrogen for this plant. And then, you know, at the perfect stage, you get into the soil. Well, it's got to be the right timing with your strawberries too, because strawberries need to go in the ground probably the second week of October. So to start working up the beds and getting everything ready, I need to knock it down by probably maybe
second or third week of September type of day?
I would say September 1st. Yeah, because bed formation is not easy. You know, you need to get the soil nice and loose and nice and worked, and you need to get the weeds, you know, controlled and everything. Hopefully we'll be able to control right now. So,
what variety do you use?
The sun hemp?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's the one that sell it at Hancock, the only one that we can buy.
South African then, like.
I think it might. Last year it was Chinese. I think it's Indian this year.
Okay.
I think I did see on the tags it was from India.
Okay.
Yeah. Last year I got a bunch of wild hibiscus or weedy hibiscus in with the Chinese seed. I thought that was pretty cool. we grow the hibiscus here, so it was. Yeah. And this is the sun hemp, the much earlier stage. So I started this maybe a month ago, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago.
You don't irrigate it at all? Just
No, that's the best thing about sun hemp in the summertime. Sometimes you have to irrigate it.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember, that one we did not. We did not have to irrigate that one. But sometimes we have that big sprinkler that we can bring out here with the you can probably go along. It's like a water cannon they call it, you know? Yeah. So we'll do that. You know, these peas, all right, they look amazing right now. And they looked kind of suffering on Monday. Like we had, like I said, we had like a foot of rain, and you can see there's a little bit yellow in them. You know, the whole crop had that kind of yellow tinge to it. And so Monday came through here with the cultivators, opened it up, and then on I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, it was dry enough that I took those plows and I pulled those plows through here, and that's what you see now. And I mean, this is pretty nice for the tail end of the crop here. This crop right here has never had a hoe out here. It's never had anybody hand weeding anything out here. You know, this is what we're able to do with those 2 tools that I showed you so far. That's why you're here today. So this is what we do in the summertime. Peas work. You know, corn can work to a degree if you can find, you know, corn that will, the actual variety will work. You can cultivate it like this. You know, okra works great like this. We can go see some okra over there. You know, we're doing just like this. And you know, when you're growing a crop like this, it just doesn't matter if you got a little mist there, or if you got a little mist here or something like that, you know. I mean, there's 50-50 chance that we could get really bad weather and the peas wouldn't make anyway. You know, they would get all rotten in the pod and stuff before you can even pick them. So, least amount of investment, it took me maybe 25 minutes out here on that cultivator, and it took me another 25 minutes with the plow. So maybe an hour of work invested this week, you know, just in this block on the tractor.
What type of nutrient supplement are you putting down?
There's been absolutely no nutrients put out there since the initial pre-plant. So we did a pre-plant of, it's a heat-treated chicken manure.
Okay.
And so it's pellets basically. We spread it out there with the same kind of spreader that we do all the seed with, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that I found an efficiency if we could use the same equipment for the seed, like broadcasting,
as you can for the
fertilizer. And that's our primary way of getting the fertilizer out there. So after, you know, the first year or so, we built up the compost. We threw a bunch of compost down on all these blocks, like the first year out of the gates, you know? Sure. But now we pretty much do all that with the cover crops. And then we get the immediate nitrogen, the release that we need from the chicken, heat-treated chicken manure. Got it. And that's the best thing I've been able to find. I don't put a lot out. I put about maybe 1,800, 2,000 pounds per acre on the peas. And like tomatoes, I'll use like 3,000 pounds or so, about like 50% more on the tomatoes, you know, than I do with the peas. And
Have you had any burn issues on the tomatoes with the chicken litter?
no, No, the best thing about this is 3% nitrogen. So it's just, you can put it down all day long. I've never seen anybody burn the crop with it. You know, I'm sure there's a waste, you know, like there's definitely a rate that you could not be getting, you know, if you're doing that. So.
I did just draw field houses where I had
Yeah.
and one of my treatments was chicken litter as a replant, and that's where I had.
Was it raw chicken manure?
Probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is actually like a product.
Composted.
It's heat treated, but it's from layers. So layer manure is totally different than broiler manure too. So broiler manure can be like 8 to 10% nitrogen. Layers are usually around like the 3% range, sometimes 2% range. So like you're saying, if you throw a bunch of broiler manure out there, you can burn your plants really bad. All of this comes from layer manure, which is 323 is the analysis on it. And it's what we're going for here. I mean, there's definitely people in this audience that know how to read fertilizer recommendations and everything. I don't pay attention to NPK, okay? Like I know we need nitrogen, but if a fertilizer is 8% nitrogen or a fertilizer is 3% nitrogen, may not depend whether I use it or not here, you know? Like if the 3% nitrogen is easy to use and at a good enough like rate, like economic rate, I'm going to use it over the 8% that's more expensive and maybe more difficult to use or something. I don't care if it's a higher nitrogen analysis, as long as, you know, it's more the application that we're trying to do, you know. And so this chicken litter, it looks just like chicken food. The pellets, you know, that you feed, it's the same dye that I'm sure that they put the food through. There's an irony in that, you know. But anyway, you get in one end, out the other, you know. But you get it out just like chicken food. And it can throw nice, like, you know, with the spreader that we got, it throws probably 15 feet in every direction, you know. And you got a nice even swath as you go down the field, you know. You come out here, I'll lift the 1 ton pallet, like right here with the forklift, you know, and just put it down. We can have this whole block spread, you know. It's a little bit more than we use for a ton, maybe. I don't know. It's about like maybe 2/3 of an acre, I think, right here. So you know, so it'd be right on if you're going to plant all in tomatoes. This would be like a ton of fertilizer you'd put out here, you know. But you can get that ton spread in an hour and a half or something, you know, and it's not that much time, you know, from start to finish. And that's really efficient, you know, compared to any other organic fertilizer you can get, like compost or, you know, compost is good, but I'd recommend finding somebody who can spread it for you, because if somebody's got the specialized equipment, like a big bulk spreader, you know, that's going to save you, you know, days and days and days of work. Not to mention, like, trying to keep an old spreader running, you're always going to have problems. Right when you need, you know, right when you need the whole system to work, you'll have problems. You know, that's how all pieces of farm equipment go. So have redundancy and simplicity.
So are you using a high row tractor in here? Is that?
It's not high at all. No, this is a maybe 15 inches clearance. Not high. Yeah, I'll show it to you when Sergio brings it back in. It's a 5055 E 4-wheel drive. You know, one of the newer medium range. I would say it's a pretty lightweight tractor for what John Deere makes. You know, it's an Indian John Deere, so it's in that class. You know, it's like a Mahindra, so to say, but you know, in that nice like small, low compaction range. I like it because we do everything out here. I've never had compacted soil really. I mean, never had an issue like I've had with huge tractors in the past where they really set that cement like plow layer down there. It just doesn't happen with the 3,500 pound tractor, you know. You can run across it all day long, you know, and it's not going to really make a plow layer like a, you know, 10-ton tractor will, you know. So it's a system that, you know, we just built from scratch in terms of like what we could finance a 55 horsepower tractor. Okay, that sounds good, you know, with the front end loader on it. I think that's a good optimum range because you can unload chicken feed with that tractor, you know, versus like a 45 horsepower tractor might not be big enough to unload chicken feed with, you know. So if you think about what's coming into the farm, I recommend everybody start off with like a medium size front end loader tractor, one tractor to start off with, you know, and then you can plow, you can cultivate, you can lift, you know, whatever you need with that one tractor, and you pay $350, $400 a month for it from John Deere, and I mean that thing does $40,000 of work a month, you know. So I think it's a good deal, you know, for what you get out of it. We have another small tractor that's a small specialized cultivation tractor called a 900 HC, and right now it's really just towing around trailers right now. It doesn't pull the rolling cultivators, and it doesn't pull the plows. So right now we're in the middle of the summertime. Those are our two main tools. When it dries out, we do wider beds of carrots, lettuces, things like that do good on the big wide beds, but it has to be in the dry season basically, you know. And then we'll cultivate with little knives and like sweeps and things that get right next to the plant lines. So it's acting like, you know, 4 or 5 hoes at one time, dragged in parallel, and you keep everything nice and as straight as these rows are, you know, and it works because you planted on the lines, you know, and that's a whole different system. I think you guys should come back in the wintertime and you can see that system at work, you know, because it's night and day from this system. But we cultivate 12 months a year here, so we got to have a system. See how high those beds are? I mean, that's what this does, is it gets your plants up, and like we'll have water just emptying out of these furrows like all throughout the summertime, you know. It depends on how much it's raining, but our soil is unique. I mean, it's hydrophobic, and so when the water hits it, it rolls off, and it just wants to roll and keep rolling. So if it sticks, if you make a puddle and the water sticks there, it gets wet for days, and you'll see the roots just start dying, you know. So if you can keep the water moving out here, it can rain 4 inches, and as long as you didn't puddle up in any of these furrows, you can actually go back in the next day and it'll be dry in the middle of the bed because the water did not absorb yet, you know, like it all fell within an hour or so, and it just didn't get into the center of the bed. Sometimes if you're going in from a drought and you're trying to catch a little bit of rain, I almost think it's better to come out here with a shovel and do this, you know, like close up these furrows and just like let the water sit right there. Then wick up in your beds, you know, make use out of everything you got. But if you're in the summertime, you come out here with shovels, or we come out here with a big adjustable blade, and what I'll do, this is all kind of sitting ready to be cut, but I'll cut out the last plant or two right here. You just aim for like the bottom of these, right where you're gonna get like a good straight line that cuts out the bottom of all these furrows and connects them all with one line. I'll show you what I did today when we're in some other stuff. But it's going down that way basically, towards the center ditch. And that's what will get the water out of here. If it's standing, you know, I'll just come in here and cut it out with a blade. It takes, at the right cut, it takes 5 minutes. And if you do it wrong, you're gonna be fiddling around with it for like an hour or so, you know, in the mud. It's just gonna get all greasy and you're gonna make a mess. So
the shaping of these beds, was that one application? And
no.
Then you repeat it to go deeper and deeper, or
I'll tell you. Okay.
To
the best of my memory.
Initial.
Yeah, the initial.
Yeah.
The beds look similar to what they look like right now, a little bit shorter. They make them with those 3 plows that you saw on that toolbar, you know?
Yeah.
Then we come through here, and my system, we've gotten it, actually, we used to use these really cool seeders. They're called Planet Juniors, and they're fun to use on the tractor, but we're so diverse, I've gotten to just using the push seeder. And it takes one person the same time as it took me, a tractor operator, to go out there and do it with the tractor, and they did it without any kind of combustion involved, you know, with a little hand seeder, or not hand, but like a walk behind seeder. You know, and these beds are so narrow that you can really stay pretty straight on them with that seeder.
Oh, so you shape the beds first and then you seed it?
Yep, we shape the beds first, and then we go down right through the middle with these peas and seed one line of peas right down the middle.
Go back and forth.
And we did that perfectly timed. The rain fell, and it just had a great germination, you know. I think
that's not too hot in this time of the day.
Well, you never know. I mean, right now
it rains every day.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're working on hooking up a sprinkler over there because we planted a bunch of stuff and there's no water. It's all around. It's hilarious. I'm so grateful that it's not raining, but we're running a sprinkler tomorrow morning because it's not raining, you know. So anyway, we do that. We sprayed probably once or twice the inoculum. Probably once on these guys. It was probably for the cutworms. You know, they have really bad cutworms in this season. So I believe these got like one application of like Intrust, and they get an application of like a fish emulsion and compost tea, like combined, you know.
Yeah.
And all at the same time, because
to get it
going, and to protect from like the dampening off and like the different, you know, like the compost tea is really good for the microbial control and stuff, you know, and it just helps. You look at these plants; they look pretty darn happy for being in the middle of August right now. You know,
looks pretty even too. It's
not too bad. This is a good perspective. Yeah. If you go like that way and look at it, you'll see all the spaces, you know.
No, but I mean color-wise too.
Color-wise,
usually you see like
this is a mature
dark,
exactly.
Light, dark, light.
This is a mature field, and that's I mean, I would say medium mature, not super mature, but we've been cultivating this since 2012. That's when we started on this one. So this right here is my deer stand. And I have shot deer from this deer stand. And this is the most comfortable deer stand you'll ever have because literally right up there is my bed. And I can pop that window open and bam! They don't know which night you're sleeping up there. That's why it's right here.
You call your wife starting the barbecue?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why the camper is right there. And we have people stop by on the highway and say, "Can I buy that camper?" I said, "I can't sell my deer." This is a pretty good perspective here, because we got a house over there. So we got a house over there. So you got a pretty good range here of like where to keep the deer off your land. We have a depredation permit, and so that's not even hunting. I mean, I've never been a hunter, never owned a gun before I was at this farm. And then once a deer takes about $4,000 of strawberries from you in a night, you get a gun. And it's like because electric fence didn't work. Whatever. We have 24,000 volts over there, and sometimes they manage to get past that. They know. I think they can smell it, like when the west wind blows, they're like, "Oh, strawberries, I'm going." Just like throwing themselves through the lines.
I'm getting there either way.
We'll make a deer bridge, we'll get there,
What's that permit called?
A depredation permit. Depredate, like to depredate. Yeah, exactly. You have to get it through
The deer is the
FWS.
predator on your...
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they are the herbivore. I guess this is the prey. And peas, they love peas. So up at that other end near that pile, sometimes they get like a nibble, and they'll go back into the pile, or that's like their safe hold. They can get into that pile, and then you can't really flush them out. Sometimes when I'm out here with a tractor, I've gotten them out like in the middle of the day, and they've been like. I always joke to my wife, it's like, I kind of keep a gun on the tractor. Like, sometimes you get a really good shot. So,
They see if you got it, too.
yeah, they do, and they know. And I saw a huge buck the other night when all I had was my dogs with me, so it is what it is. But anyway, let's go walk around a little bit before it gets dark.
What was on this property before you started?
This was pine. It was pine harvested probably about 5 years before we started.
Do you have any land in your soil at all?
We grew up a lot of. What we did is we had sunflowers here, and the sunflowers just got harvested, so I do alternating sunflowers and celosia. And that way it sets up, we use the whole block for the flowers, essentially. We're getting cut flowers out of it, and the sunflowers grow really quick. Celosias take a while to get going, but because we split the planting, we get a harvest over a longer period of time for the use of the land. And it's really easy to cultivate too. I mean, and the thing is, it's just like the peas. These are really cheap plants, and we got a lot of them, and if they got a few weeds in them, it's just not a big deal. There's other things that we kind of focus our time on, like for where it's important, like the eggplant and the peppers and things like that. You really want to keep the weeds out of there, if you got them. Well, now we got tomatoes in the ground, so we'll be like spending a lot of attention on those. These guys are going to be there whether or not you make really big heads or make small heads. You're still going to get some cut flowers out of them.
Were these transplanted or?
They were transplanted.
Okay,
yep.
so they were.
And these are hibiscus. That's our third planting of hibiscus right there. I love that plant. That plant is one of the best plants on the farm. It's in the Okra family. So that one's like that's the baby one, and we're going to see some other plantings as we go along here.
That's the Roselle?
Yeah, that's the Roselle hibiscus. Yep. These are some sunchokes here. I did an experiment this year. This one worked. But
What
the
do you
other ones
usually
didn't.
rotate after the
After
Roselle?
hibiscus?
Yeah, and
This
the
one-
okra.
Oh, and you see how they're all in the same block here? I got eggplants, I got hibiscus, I had tomatoes, I have sunchokes, which aren't the best. I've got okra, hibiscus, and then it goes on to other stuff over there. But in this whole area, I'm going to just pretty much do a grass to grass to grass cover crop after this. We've used this really hard for about 18 months, 24 months or so. It was raw ground. It was a swamp, basically. This is unique soil, it's not the bottom of the swamp, it's the top of the swamp. And so we took it from swamp, so to say, and we put sweet potatoes in it. It yielded really well in sweet potatoes last year. Then we went into winter vegetable rotation, so it was like a brassica and lettuces. And so we do a lot of brassicas here. So there was like multiple rounds of radishes, arugula, broccoli, kale, collards, things like that out here. Some of the lettuces get slipped in there too, just by the relay planting that we do. And then we went into these like really nasty nematode crops, for like the last economical part of this cycle. And then it'll be rye down or December. We'll put rye in here, and then we might go from rye to this side, you know, I've got corn going on that side, but this side we might go into like sweet corn in the spring, you know, and then we might do like millet after the sweet corn crop, or maybe sun hemp, or something like that, you know.
Yeah,
Another
something
like,
to separate them.
it'd be a nice one because you'd already done like two grains, you know, and into sun hemp like for the summertime after the sweet corn. That would probably work pretty well, and then you know, not come back into here for something until you know, the next fall, and maybe do like carrots in here then, you know, instead of brassicas for the next like marketable winter season. So yeah, it's all about the sequence. I mean, that's good questions right there. So this is the second planting of hibiscus, a little bit taller. And the first planting right now is about 8 feet tall. Wow. It's over in the other side of the field. But you can see they're just starting to make. Yeah, these are the fruit right here. Not enough for us to all try yet, but in another 2 weeks, hopefully, with this kind of weather, boom, they all just start happening, you know, at the same time. And it's a good crop for us, especially in this interval. It's like, you know, everybody wants fruit, everybody wants something special like in this season, and this is a go-to, you know, for the fall. You know, whatever you can do.
Cranberry hibiscus.
That's what it is.
Oh, that's.
This is like cranberry hibiscus. Yep. Now you guys see this? Yeah, I can see this right here. This is all of the beds. Yeah. So you can see it all comes down this way. And even on this side, look at the strawberry. Rolls out of here. So, a lot of what? No, that's the silica. Yeah, that's what comes out. So you see, it really shows like in the areas where it runs. But like there,
okay.
See how it works? Yeah, that's the native soil down below. And all this is like the loose. This is all the silica that was in the silt, in the flowing water, you know, and all the really silty stuff washed out of it. And that's down the hill. But you see, I've got a few acres of Kogan grass out there between me and the highway. That Kogan grass filters out almost all the silt. It's pretty amazing. On the other side of that Kogan grass is nearly clear water when it's running. It's like chocolate milk through here. But the Kogan grass catches everything like a filter. So
and then you grab that and pull it back in?
That's the idea. One day when there's enough resources, we're going to probably put a pond up there. And we'll relocate all that dirt.
We'll that back in?
Yep. Back and basically bring it up to these blocks. Exactly, right. What is it? Oh yeah, they've been trying to spray. Oh yeah, no, we actually have an agreement with the highway department, you know, to not spray here. And as you see, I've already started disking along the line, you know, so I made an agreement.
They like to get rid of it.
Oh yeah, they've been spraying up on that border for years, and so as soon as we started cultivating vegetables here, we had to make an agreement with them so they didn't spray any of the herbicides so it would drift in. So in order for them to agree to that, I had to start maintaining the boundary line with the disc. So as the whole area up there will probably be cropped maybe next spring or so, but then there'll be a nice like bahia strip, you know, between us and the highway, probably by about like. Exactly.
So that's why you're not planting on that front area?
That front little piece, yeah. It's already had herbicide applied, so we'll make a bahia road that's probably about 30 to 50 feet wide, wherever the herbicide could have gone in the past. You know, we won't have our crops going right up to the edge of the highway. They never grow good up there anyway. It's been many, many years of like herbicide use. This is our last planting of okra.
Okra.
Yep, and you can see this is like kind of the silty area down here. You see all this black silt? It's catching. Dude, this is good stuff.
That is good.
Wow.
This is, I mean, this is what I want. You know, like I want this to stay in this area here. And what I pay is about 20 feet of plants not really growing because it's just a little too wet, you know. But I could cut this drain out deeper. I could level, you know, like really fight for this area here. But I found not fighting for it's good because it's just going to let the silt settle here. That way, when I get in here with the plow later on, it's easier to take this silt straight up here rather than go all the way down there and get the silt out maybe in like 10 years, you know. So, this is a system that's kind of evolved, you know, as we've been here, you know, but most of the block you can see is really uniform, you know. It really works for most of the block up there. Once again, dry farmed okra. I mean, luckily not too dry, but we planted this okra by seed, you know. We select the plants, so we overseed on the okra. Sometimes we even transplant. At the right stage, you can take okra and transplant it. You don't need to, don't ever waste your greenhouse space on okra because it's happier out here. You can take a trowel, transplant it into these spots, you know, where you might not have had good germination, and it'll be just as good as if you would have used a transplant. You would have wasted, you know, a tray and transplant media and all that other stuff for it, you know. So there's certain plants like that, like sweet corn and okra, that actually do just as good if you take a trowel and they gotta slip out right when the roots are just initiating, you know. Like, you don't want to let the roots get big because you'll kill it. But if the roots are still like the size of, or under what a trowel can dig out, you know, you can usually move the plant without too much shock. Yeah.
So what's these? About a quarter of an acre, less than that?
It's about a quarter, maybe about up to a, it might be close to like 0.28 or something like that. Okay. Yeah, for the whole thing, yeah.
Right. So how many pounds do you think
that we harvest off of that? Yeah. We could probably harvest off of this block 50 pounds every 2 days.
Whoa,
what? That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
And how long is the season for that?
We have 3 plantings in the ground right now. So the first planting's still doing really good.
Okay.
And we're right now.
But out of this single crop, how many?
This single crop, it's late crop. Oh, so it's this has the least amount of time before the frost. So this is basically filling in for the gap behind our first 2 crops, because our first 2 crops have already peaked. This one is just about to start flowering. Maybe next week or so we'll start seeing the first flowers come out. In about 3 weeks it'll be on, and we'll have it for September. And maybe it's like 6 weeks basically. This is the shortest crop of okra, but it fills in the gap that we're going to have, because our first crop is still doing well, but it was I mean, we had okra out of our first crop in May. Second crop over here came in probably late June or something like that, you know. And so they've already both peaked. We're still harvesting like 100 pounds a day off of the first 2 crops, every other day, basically every other day. Every other day, yep. And this will probably yield about half of that one.
So that's 700 or 800
yes,
pounds.
all of it, yeah.
It's all
that's 700 or 800 pounds over the life of the block here.
Oh, easily. And that's a short crop.
That's a short crop too. That's not a full season.
Like 1,200 pounds on the main crop.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, while we're walking a second, I skipped on introductions. I meant to introduce, where's Aparna?
Right here.
Aparna's extension agent from Alachua County.
Oh, okay.
Very active in small farms programming. Got a resume a mile long on farming and all kind of stuff. And where's Jose? Jose is our specialty crop conference, another tremendous resource. And also we got Sam. Sam Deary is our family and consumer sciences agent in Bradford County. She does a lot of work on encouraging people how good it is to eat healthy, and she could take food. She's a chef by training.
Oh, nice.
And
Could I come eat your place?
Salivating over all these foods here, but I should have done that earlier. So
what are we looking at here? I saw fatty. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
There's not many of these out there, but they're worth $4 a pound right now. So $4 a pound.
$4 a pound.
That is
this
what.
time of the year, it looks incredible.
I mean, for August, you know, with cucumbers here, and this is a beaut. I mean, I gotta say, we don't get many grade A's right now.
You don't put vines?
No, you want to waste all your time and energy? No, I know. I'm just saying. After I learned that, you know, basically, trellising cucumbers is not where it's
not
at.
worth it?
No, because these things last for about 3 weeks. Of production.
Okay, so
That's really what it is in the summertime. You got we planted. I want to say this is our 5th or 6th planting of the year. Right here. Yeah.
Oh, in this block.
Yeah, we had one over there, and then we had
That's smart.
2, and then we had 3, and then we had 4. We have 5. We have 6. We have 7 in the ground right now. 7 plantings of cucumbers, and we still got another 2 to go before the year's done.
And this is just
that's hay mulch.
and you just spread it on top after you plowed it?
I plow it. I make I basically level the field out. I spread that fertilizer with the cone. Then you come back through here, and I got a pretty cool. This is one of my custom techniques here to make these nice big wide beds. I have a bed shaper over there, and it can make the beds a little bit more narrow than this, you know. For cucumbers, you really want to maximize your bed surface. So I take 2 of those plows, and I go down and I make like a W basically with the plows. Just 2 right behind where the tractor tires go. So you're carving out the furrows with the plows. Then I do that 1 row, I do the loop, do the next row over. Then as I get up there, I go up, I reverse down the first row that I did with the bucket. I have the bucket that's on the front end loader.
Yeah, with the discs on the. The bucket.
At this time, the discs. I mean, I'm sorry, the plows are up all the way on the back toolbar. I'm not using the back toolbar. I'm dragging the bucket backwards over top of the W shape,
Yeah.
and it basically fills out that bed right to the
It
wheel.
just rolls it
It's
up, rolls
beautiful.
it flat.
And I've done acres and acres like that, and it's
Nice.
the simplest thing I can think of to do. Basically just float the bucket over top of that soil,
Yeah.
and it gives you a bed about that tall, you know, which is perfect for cucumbers
Right.
or watermelons or whatnot, and it goes a lot faster than the bed shaper. So the bed shaper, if I'm really aiming for like the extra 2 or 3 inches that the bed shaper gives me, I'll do that for like carrots and strawberries and things like that. Really need a little bit more height, you know, to them. Then like the cucumbers, they aren't going to care if it's like 2 or 3 inches higher, you know, necessarily. They want as much surface area that they're not in the water, so to say. But the roots can actually be pretty wet on cucumbers. This is not a dry block, and they can still work in moderately wet soil. And on the 7th planting, I probably pushed them into a little too wet a soil. They have not worked good, and it was just too much rain at that time, you know. Didn't know we were going to get it right then. So anyway, let's keep walking this way.
John, do you plant a lot more seeds in the summertime than in the spring?
I always plant a lot of seeds. We plant one every 6 inches.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Six
Oh, so you
inches
direct
wide.
feed these?
They
then?
don't develop much in the summertime.
That's right, they don't,
It's
do
like-
they?
it's
You need
like,
a higher plant population
Yeah,
to fill the area.
Yeah.
Good observation there. I think I've seen the same
My
thing.
spring, they filled in within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And in the summertime,
This is old basil. We've been harvesting off of this basil for like 8 or 9, maybe 10 weeks. And it's still providing, you know, some small cut, loose cut for the chefs. They still, this still does pretty good.
What variety is that? Opal.
Yeah. Today, I dragged the blade through here. It's an adjustable blade, and it was basically, I was looking at a lot of rain starting to come. You know, it looked like we could have gotten a lot of rain today, and we just finished this block over here. I was about to show you guys.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
I hope I don't mess up your
You're fine.
your
You're
movie
fine.
then.
Speed bumps here.
John, do you buy these? The hay?
The hay?
Yeah.
We have a strange with one of our local beef producers, Tracy Lee Hill. We trade her CSA.
Okay.
Yeah, she brings over rolls of hay, or her husband Mike brings over rolls of hay. And in the summertime, this is really how I like to do a lot of crops if we can afford it, for you know, high value crops. This keeps the soil cooler than any kind of plastic. It's more permeable. I don't have runoff issues compared to plastic, because if you put plastic over these beds, you're going to start making rivers real quick, you know, and they just start cutting out. They'll wash out the plastic, so then when the wind blows next, you know, if you got to cover the plastic with dirt and it rains a lot, sometimes it'll wash out the dirt that was.
These are tomatoes, I reckon, right?
Yep, these are tomatoes right here.
Is this mulch that you're talking about that you're killing?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about their tree mulch or tree trimmings?
It's too much carbon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just too much, like, and it's this way more material than you need out there, you know.
Yeah.
Like around trees, fruit trees, it's great, you know. But like for row crops, this is going to be done in December, so I wouldn't really want all those wood chips in there at the time, you know. But this breaks down even in the wintertime to make really good fertilizer for like the next crop that comes here. I can put radishes here, maybe not radishes because I got brassicas already. Might be a good crop for like a winter planting of carrots, like right through here, you know.
These
By hand.
hoses,
Like we put it on the trailer and we spread it out.
do you just poke holes in them, or are they
The hoses,
soakers, or what are they?
These are drip tape. They have little micro
Drip
emitters
tape?
already in it. Yeah, it's a manufactured product.
And are they
comes on
spaced, or does it just do it the whole length?
These are 12-inch spacing. You buy them for the space of plants that you want. So these are all 12 inchers.
So you've got,
You got
these are 24
14
inch.
between.
That's
yeah.
right. I've got 2 emitters there for every plant, basically, and 1 emitter right on each one of these plants.
Okay.
And I bring in with this
Drip
blue
tape.
line. This is called lay flat. And then if we can find a manifold, a branch off.
Right there.
So you can valve right here. This, if you take a picture of this, it'll save you hundreds of dollars. These parts are really, yeah, exactly. You guys came out to my farm today, so I'm giving you the proprietary information. But I learned it from somebody, so I can't claim that I figured it out. But these are the parts that are available, and this is what we ended up doing.
So you just literally teed off and then just get it on.
Exactly. This tee right here is really the $1 million piece. It's a 2x2x1 tee. Allows you to go straight from the lay flat into the black poly. once you're in the black poly, these things are pretty sweet, these green valves. Then, you know, from the black poly, you can run a certain amount of drip tape on a single one of these headers, you know?
Yeah.
And so then we have thumb valves on each
one of those.
Basically, you can spend 75 cents or so for a connection to the drip tape that doesn't have a valve, or you can spend $1.20 or so with a valve. And I can tell you that, you know, when you're doing crops like this, I got tomatoes in one row, mustards in one row, collards in one row. I can guarantee you that they're not all going to want the same amount of water all the time to be optimum. But it's really easy when you have the pattern set up that you can just come down here and open every third row of tomatoes, or you can close every third row. You know, and it's very, very efficient to irrigate. You know, so.
Do you reuse your poly at all?
We've tried. The black poly we do.
Yeah.
The headers and everything, we definitely reuse the headers. The drip tape we cannot. Like sometimes we do actually reuse the drip tape, and the only time I found that it's efficient is like if we have it in one of these beds here, and then I'm gonna make more beds up over here, and this crop is done. We can walk it over to those beds right next to it, you know, and it works. And that's efficient. But as soon as you start rolling it up, forget about it. Put it in the trash. You know, it's like if you're gonna. Why? It breaks. It cracks. Yeah, you
wouldn't believe how many repairs I did in like 1 month just trying to get no extra spray going.
Exactly. There's all these couplers that you have to use, and you're just chasing down these little spurts of water everywhere, and everywhere.
You just pick it up and carry it as a length over to the new spot.
Literally, we'll have 3 people here, like one here, one in the middle, one at the other end. We all lift up on it, you know, and like you get it loose first, you know, get the dirt off of it, you know. Break it loose from the plants or whatever, and they lift it up and walk it over. And they can do that like 10 rows, and not a whole, maybe twice the amount of time that it would take you to use the new stuff, if it's in the block adjacent to it. So. You might have saved something there. You probably paid too much. So it's one of those things. Yeah.
So this whole block has the same drip tape then?
On the same valve, you mean, or
no, the
same type?
Yeah.
Yes. This whole block has 12-inch drip tape. It's like a half a gallon per hour. I can't remember. Whatever the standard rate is. Yeah. That is one thing you want to do. Is always use the same drip tape on your valve on your block here. Don't go put 4-inch and 12-inch together, because you're gonna be over unless you know what you're doing, you know. But as a beginner, don't go mix up 12-inch and 4-inch and 8-inch and wonder why some of your plants are drowning and some of your plants are not getting enough water, you know. So
you try to get that at a particular thickness.
So is this
the mulch? Yeah, it's a goal. And sometimes, you know, you see there's some parts where it falls or something.
Maybe a 2-inch at least.
Do you spread this by hand?
Yeah. So there's the trailer over there that was near the cultivator. It was a nice flat black metal trailer. We had that fabricated, so it fits straight. It fits in these furrows perfectly. So that was one of those investments we made that I think is really worth it. To have a trailer that you can pull through your crops area, you know. I mean, that trailer can go over broccoli if you need it. It's a high axle, you know. So that trailer's been pretty instrumental. Just really simple thing.
So it's got a 60-inch spacing, you're saying?
Right on. It's the same as my tractor, basically. So and it'll pull right down over 2 of these rows. And then we'll go down one, and depending on how many people you got, you usually, if you got a lot of people out on the ground, you can do we've done 5 passes at one time, 10 beds at one time with one person. If you got like 6 or 7 people to do the whole process.
Slowly crawling forward.
Yeah, and just have one person throwing off the hay. We were unwinding the hay roll, and you're just throwing over here, throwing over there, throwing over there, and just have everybody hand put it into place. You got 2 options. You can put the hay on first, or you can put the hay on later, and we do both. It depends on what's the application. This was done first. It's much easier to put hay down and then plant into it. Yeah. But sometimes your weeds are so bad that it won't work. Your weeds will pop up, and you'll be doing a lot of hand weeding. So
you need to be able to cut it out a couple times. And
sometimes, like with the basil over there, we planted the basil on bare ground and we cultivated it twice. Then we put the hay down. Yep. So just certain things, you know, you can get away with, you know. I don't know, we're still in R&D stage here, you know, which is the best, you know. It's definitely whatever the crop is when you want to plant it. That's what you have to decide.
How much hay do you get per acre?
This one, I'm looking at those hay rolls over there. They probably used about 4 rolls for this area here.
4 rolls per what, 2/3 of an acre?
Yeah, it's about 3. The whole block is about
6 rolls per acre.
I wouldn't say this is probably about 40% of an acre, maybe.
Is it really?
Yeah, where the hay is, and then there's more plants over here.
Okay, 8 rolls per acre ish.
Probably,
9?
yeah, 6 to 8, somewhere in that range. Depends on how thick you do it, and these beds require a little bit more hay than the wide beds.